Enzo Fernandez played his first 90 minutes for Chelsea just 3 days after his record-breaking transfer from Benfica. And while it was a disappointing 0-0 draw, there were some promising signs from the Argentinian midfielder on his debut for Chelsea. In this video, we're going to analyze how Potter used Enzo Fernandez in his system. We'll also look at some underlying stats to evaluate his performance. And finally, we'll look at the ideal midfield partner for Enzo Fernandez moving forward. Before we get into the analysis, please drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on content just like this. If you guys missed my previous video covering how Enzo will fit into Potter's system, please go check it out, link in the description below. We talked about how Potter's preferred system at both Brighton and Chelsea is the 3-4-2-1, but he has played the 4-2-3-1 on your screen here just as often because at this moment, he's just trying to win games. And he has to stabilize the team through a new coach, new players, and new owners. So in this game, it was no surprise that Potter started in a 4-2-3-1, but he actually played a 2-3-2-3 in possession that looked like this. In this shape, you have Havertz occupying the opposing center backs, Mudryk and Ziyech playing high and wide on the left and right wing, and Mount and Gallagher just in behind that front three playing in the inside spaces. Now, the benefit of this to Potter's system is that these two players allow them to create overloads in 5 different areas of the pitch. You have Mount, Cucurella, and Mudryk forming this triangle, James, Gallagher, and Ziyech forming this triangle, and then 3 more triangles being formed by using Havertz. Now, the downside of this shape is that Gallagher was not helping much defensively at all. If you guys remember, he started out in the double pivot next to Enzo, but he was actually playing most of his game as an 8/10. So this provided Enzo with no support in this entire area of the pitch, which was a big problem. In this clip, we're going to see Chelsea's back 5 shape in action. As Kepa rolls out the ball to Badiashile, we see the 2 center backs furthest back and Enzo Fernandez in line with the wing backs to form a 2-3 shape. You can see that Enzo is left to cover big spaces defensively with Andreas Pereira staying very tight to him all game. And also notice how Gallagher is further forward than Enzo. At Benfica, Enzo was used to playing in the left of a double pivot where he dictated the play with his passing and got forward as much as possible. So instead of being in the center here, he would be more in this area here. And instead of Gallagher, who's out of the picture at the moment, Gallagher would be in this area instead. If we pay close attention to the role that he's being asked to play, you'll notice that it is actually the role that Casemiro and Rodri play for their teams in the Premier League. Enzo Fernandez just doesn't have the same physicality or defensive awareness to play this role in the long run. Plus, it doesn't really play to his attacking strengths. He should be playing the Gallagher role in the team next to someone who's more defensively solid. Given the fact that Potter used Enzo as a lone CDM in this game, let's assess how well he did from a defensive perspective. I have 8 different statistics from this game to see how well he did defensively, and we're going to compare these to his per 90 stats from Benfica to see how his role has changed from the double pivot to the lone CDM. As you can see, in terms of tackles, blocks, interceptions, and ball recoveries, his defensive stats went up across the board compared to his time at Benfica. You could look at these statistics and hail him as the second coming of Casemiro, but that would be wrong. These are just stats from one game, and I'm willing to bet that his overall stats will come down to Benfica levels by the end of the season once Chelsea has a more balanced midfield around Enzo Fernandez. Now, I've painstakingly gone through the entire game to show you guys Enzo's best and worst defensive contributions, so please drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this part. So we see Mitrovic getting the ball from a throw-in while Enzo is in a central area. Mitrovic lays it off to Willian, who has plenty of room to run into if he gets his touch right. But Enzo senses the danger and ends up winning the ball back from Willian. But while he's trying to play it to Reece James at right back, Mitrovic ends up intercepting it and Fulham are on the attack again. You see the good and bad part of Enzo's defensive capabilities here because he reads the game to intercept an off-balance Willian, but he isn't aware of Mitrovic's positioning and he ends up giving the ball away. But it's not all doom and gloom because as we play along, Enzo is ready to tackle Mitrovic again and wins possession for Chelsea. The ball ends up landing at Reece James's feet, who clears it up the pitch. Now, from what we've just seen, Enzo has the defensive capabilities and awareness to be a world-class CDM, but he's just not consistent enough at the moment to actually be world-class. maybe he can get there someday. In this clip, we see a Fulham defender playing the ball into Andreas Pereira's feet. As Pereira turns to get away from Mason Mount's press, we see Enzo getting ready to press him in this area. Pereira gets pressured by both Mount and Gallagher, which forces him to take a loose touch, and Enzo pounces on the opportunity to win the ball back. Once Enzo has the ball at his feet, he sees Ziyech in a great position in tons of space and plays a ball out to him with his first touch. Because of that, Chelsea are 2v2 against Fulham, but unfortunately Ziyech makes a mess out of it in front of goal and nothing comes off it. Now, we saw glimpses of Enzo's best qualities in this clip. He can read the game well enough to press in the middle third, win the ball back, and play a quick progressive pass to start the attack. In this clip, we see the defensive weaknesses in his game. Tete picks up the ball in his own half and is ready to progress the ball forward, while Enzo, Badiashile, and Thiago Silva are all ahead of the Fulham right back. As we play forward, Enzo attempts to cut off Tete to put the ball out of play, but Tete sees this coming and kicks the ball past Enzo Fernandez for an easy sprint towards the right wing area. Even though Cucurella manages to recover, Tete has enough room to put in a cross to the back post, and the cross gets to Willian in a dangerous area, but all he can do is put it headed down to Mitrovic, who is in a bad position to do anything about it because he's not really expecting it. Now, from a simple mistake that Enzo made at the left back area by lunging in, it almost cost Chelsea a goal. And this was in a game where one goal would have won it for either team. So he just needs to have better defensive awareness to realize that he's the last man on Tete, and it's better to run him down the line and try to block the cross instead of doing what he did. He will definitely get better at this aspect of the game with Premier League experience, as he's still only 22 years old. The thing that wowed me the most about Enzo was his passing in this game. Benfica fans will know how good he was at quickly switching the play from left to right to help his team get up the pitch, and he did do some of this for Chelsea in this game. Here we see a Fulham player about to lose control of the ball, and Enzo is in perfect position to capitalize on this. As he wins the ball and gets on the ball, he sees Ziyech and Reece James in tons of space on the right hand side. He plays a really quick ball to Reece James that starts the counterattack, but unfortunately the play doesn't end well for them. The point here is Enzo is great at picking his head up to identify the right pass and use his technical abilities to actually play that pass. In this clip, we see Badiashile pick up the ball near the halfway line and play it back to Enzo Fernandez. As Enzo receives it, you can see him getting his head up to see his options on the right wing. As soon as he identifies that Reece James is there, he plays a perfect pass right into his stride, and Reece James puts a cross into the box, but Fulham is able to clear it because they have two players there. And again, you can see a quick progressive pass from Enzo creates an opportunity for Chelsea that could have scored the goal that won this game. And finally, we get to probably his best moment in this game. Enzo picks up the ball on the halfway line. He turns around and in a split second sees Mason Mount making the run in behind. With his second touch, he plays the ball over the top to Mount, which takes out 3 Fulham players, these 3 players here, and leaves Chelsea 2v2 on goal. Mount tries to find Havertz in the box with his left foot, and from this angle, Havertz should really be scoring, but it's just out of his reach and the ball ends up being skied over the bar. I am so impressed by Enzo's ability to keep track of his teammates, specifically in possession. He always knows where everyone is, and he takes 1 or 2 touches maximum before playing it to them in dangerous areas. And this speed cannot be underestimated. Honestly, imagine how good he will be in this team when he develops some chemistry with the other players, so like 15-20 games from now. So we now know how Potter used Enzo Fernandez on his debut, and from his stats and playstyle, he actually did reasonably well. He wasn't amazing as a lone CDM, but he didn't look terrible either. I'm sure with about 15 to 20 games under his belt in that position, he will be a better than average Premier League CDM. But is that what you want from a 120 million player? Definitely not. So who can Potter play alongside Enzo to get the best out of him? Now, Potter has Mason Mount, Conor Gallagher, Teo Kovacic, Denis Zakaria, and N'Golo Kante. We know from analyzing Enzo's game that he plays best as more of an 8 than a pure 6. So Potter must play a more traditional CDM next to him to get the best out of Enzo. For now, that has to be a choice between Kante and Zakaria. And of course, Kante is the one to go with. But Kante's contract expires in the summer, and we don't know if he's going to stay. And Zakaria isn't consistent enough as a CDM to build your team around a double pivot of Zakaria and Enzo. Long story short, Chelsea will probably need to buy a CDM in the summer, and for me, Declan Rice is a great ready-made option to fit this team. He has Premier League experience, he's always fit, and plays every minute for West Ham, and he's still young at 24. Now Potter has another problem at his hands because there's room for only one more midfielder, and you have Mount, Gallagher, and Kovacic to fill that spot. In my opinion, he should go with Mount in a 4-2-3-1, so Mount, Enzo plus CDM, or Kovacic in a 4-3-3, so he plays a flat 3 with Enzo, Kovacic plus that CDM. And for those of you wondering about a Kovacic and Enzo double pivot, I just don't think that's good enough defensively in the long run. Chelsea just needs to go buy a CDM in the summer to solve this problem. In closing thoughts, I thought it was a decent performance from Enzo Fernandez given that he played a full 90 minutes just 3 days after landing in London. I think he can live up to his price tag over the next few years, but Chelsea's midfield is very unbalanced at the moment. We know Todd Bailey has the money to get Rice or another world-class CDM in the summer, so let's hope he does. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you did. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.